More changes have already started to happen with another popular fragrance brand, and more specifically popular fragrance line, and that is the Valentino Uomo line. So the other day I was catching up with my comments and I had someone ask if I had smelled the new bottles of Valentino Uomo Intense. For those of you who are unaware, these have undergone a presentation update. So you'll notice right off the bat, you have the studs around the collar there, which is consistent with the Born in Roma line. And then the main difference here is a cap. Yeah, never thought I'd see it, a cap on Valentino Uomo Intense, and also Valentino Uomo as well. Also got the upgrade. I didn't pick that one up yet. If there's enough demand, I'll compare those two as well. But I wanted to get to the bottom of this myself because these were re-released kind of, and I think they're kind of considered Valentino Uomo and Uomo Intense 2021. So this did happen last year. And so of course, for those of you who have had the fragrance for a while, this is how it originally looks. So you have the button up top, no cap, no studs. For me, the cap is cool. I like caps because of this reason right here. You could pick it up, pop the cap, smell it, and you can actually smell it, right? The cap holds in the scent. With fragrances like this one, you know, you don't get anything off of that after it's been sitting out for a while unsprayed. Also, one thing that's important to note that I do think actually looks really sharp and is a nice touch. Maybe you can see it, but the coloration of the cap and the collar is lighter than on the original. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's how it is. Some minor updates. Also, is the glass slightly different? Maybe not. Maybe it's exactly the same. Yeah, I think it is. I was getting confused there. Everything else seems to be the same though, except for the scent. Yeah, there is actually a little bit of a difference in the scent between these two. I've been wearing them both side by side consistently these past few days to test it. I've got the new one on this hand, the old one on this hand. Now, what I will tell you is that at this point where they both are in the dry down after being on my skin for several hours, they are splitting hairs. But I will go over the differences that you will notice when you first apply both of these, so that way you're aware of it. And I'll also preface this by saying that for most of you out there, the differences aren't going to be a big deal. But for people who have been wearing Uomo Intense for several years, maybe it's your signature scent, if you were to pick up a new bottle, you would likely notice these things as well. And so I don't want you guys to freak out and think that it's ruined and completely reformulated and trashed. It's not all bad. Some of you may like the new updated version here. So let's go ahead and start to break this down. So I've been taking notes these past few days as I've been testing them side by side, and we'll start with the new one. So I find for me, when I first spray on the new version, and again, that's here with the cap, I notice that it's a lot more smooth, okay? So it's more smooth, and to me, has more of a kind of mass-pleasing approach. So that's something that I think a lot of you guys would appreciate if maybe you struggle with iris-based fragrances. You know, it's a little bit more of a kind of modernized take on it a little bit, so to speak. I've also noticed that the new version has been out projecting the old version when I've been testing it. So having one on each hand, the newer one has been projecting harder and stronger than the old version. One other interesting quirk that I want to note here is that the new version here, the new bottle style, introduces 2 new notes in the official note breakdown from the Valentino website, and that is nutmeg and juniper. So it gives it a little bit more of a warm spiciness, a little bit more of an aromatic feel. I thought that was interesting. If you look on Fragrantica, it's the old note breakdown. Those 2 notes are nowhere to be found, but on the website, it is, and that's something that seems to be new here, either with this formulation or maybe they've always had it and they just now added them. I'm not really sure. And now let's cover the old version briefly here. I find that for me, from opening to mid, the old version has a little bit more of a punch to it. almost a slightly pungent smell. And I hesitate to use the word pungent because I don't want it to sound like it's off-putting. I don't think it's off-putting at all. But there really is kind of this certain aspect of the original that, especially in the opening into the mid, really stands out. And that was the main differentiating factor from the old to the new. And again, we're just talking from opening to mid here. I find that there's more leather in the original as well, the old style bottle, and also more of a chocolatey cacao type of note. I find those notes to be more prominent in the original bottle. And so again, it's important to note that once you get these into the full dry down, you know, when I smell each hand, I really think I would have a hard time telling them apart at this point. But the reason why I'm focusing on this is that when you first spray both of them on and you're experiencing the opening into the mid, there are big differences there, or at least maybe big to some people, maybe negligible to other people, depending on your relationship with the scent. For me, I could tell right away that there were some differences, and I was a little bit nervous. But again, dry down, they are very, very similar, if not almost exactly the same, but there are some differences starting off. So I wanted to make you guys aware of that. Some will actually prefer those changes. Others would probably wish they stuck with the old style scent and just rebottled it. But, you know, of course, they're going to change some things around. Another thing to note here is when I'm talking about these differences, it's going to be smelling them up close. So spraying each one on right away, maybe letting it dry down a couple minutes, and then smelling each hand. When you really bring it up to your nose and smell them that way, that's when you pick up on the differences the most. I would imagine that in most scenarios here, you spray either of these on and people are smelling the sillage, it would be a lot harder to pick up on those differences. So overall, the differences are really only noticeable up close and personal within the opening, transitioning into the mid of these fragrances. And so that's kind of how it is. Dry down's very similar. And I think most people would probably prefer the new version. I think that they really kind of maybe either listened to some feedback or just decided to make this one more accessible. The reason why I think that, one, is because of the cap. I do think that most people probably prefer the caps over the old style bottle. For me, it's such a minor detail at the end of the day where I don't care, and that's not going to affect my purchase of the scent. But to be honest with you guys, I think there will be some people out there who would maybe shy away from something like this because it doesn't have a cap. I don't know that for sure, but you got to think from a mainstream consumer standpoint. That may be the deciding factor for just your average everyday guy. Oh, I want something with the cap. I don't want something like that. Seriously, that could be. It sounds ridiculous to probably a lot of us. I couldn't care less as long as the scent is really good, but some people would be that way. So I think adding a cap, making it more travel friendly was one step in that direction, and also kind of tying it together with the newer bottles of the Born and Aromas, I think was a good call to make everything, you know, the same here. And I also think really smoothing this one out and making it more, I guess, modernized and up to date in some instances will really do some wonders for the scent as well. Again, like I said, the new was out projecting the old version for me. And I also find that the longevity is on par with the old one. Again, I sprayed these on early this morning. It's about 2 o'clock now. Both are still going strong. Both are similar, both are lasting a long time, and they both will continue to last a long time. Over the past few days as I've been testing them, I found that really the new version lasts about the same time as the old one. You know, they're right there. They really are very similar in that regard. So this is one of those instances where maybe a bit of a reformulation or a bit of a change actually wasn't a bad thing. And it doesn't always end up like this. A lot of times fragrance brands will go in and mess things up for the worse, and then we're left with a fragrance that almost isn't even worth buying anymore. But I can say, at least for me personally, the new version here is good to go. So a lot of you guys who are out there and wanting to pick up Valentino Uomo Intense, it's one of those situations where I think you would be happy with either version, scent-wise that is. Now you could have your preference on cap or no cap. That's going to be up to you. But it's not like you need to track down one or the other because of performance or a better smell or whatever. It's kind of just like you buy it and you almost get what you get. I did buy mine from the original Valentino Uomo website, so that way I knew that I would get the new style. I'm not sure what the retailers are stocking anymore. A lot of the retail websites still have pictures of the old one up. It's not a guarantee that you're going to get the old style bottle, so you'll have to do your research there on that one. Oh, so that's going to do it for me. My breakdown on Valentino Uomo Intense, the new updated packaging. I think this is important to cover from time to time because I think a lot of people would maybe start to be a little bit cautious now when picking this fragrance up because they are scared that it's going to be reformulated for the worse and messed up, and they don't want to spend 110, 108 at retail plus tax and shipping. That's a lot of money, and you don't want to go into that blindly and purchase it and end up with a product that you're unhappy with, and you got to either try to return or sell or just not wear, and you're out $120 or whatever at the end of the day. And so I wanted to cover this. There's going to be people who say not to worry about it, not to fret reformulations and bottle changes and whatever. It's all irrelevant, but it's really not. I think it's important to address this and to kind of shine some light on that. And trust me when I say, if they would have messed up this new version for the worse, I would have told you guys. And I was nervous in the beginning, like I said, but dry downs are identical pretty much. Opening to mid, differences between the two. The newer version being more modern and smooth. The older version being more pungent. Some guys out there will have their own preference on it. It's going to be up to you. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.